Hi everyone, welcome back to the Caistrology channel, and if you're new here, welcome. My name is Cailin, and today we're going to be looking at your December 2025 horoscopes. I am filming this while Mercury is retrograde conjunct Mars, so please bear with me. I'm a double Mercury-ruled person, so these ones always hit me pretty hard. In any case, today we're going to be looking at the full moon in Gemini, the new moon in Sagittarius, and of course we've got Mars in Sagittarius making a square with Saturn in Pisces and then Neptune in Pisces. So you can watch your horoscope for your ascendant, sun and moon sign. I do recommend that you watch all three if you have the time. If you've only got time to watch one horoscope, then I would start off with your ascendant, also known as your rising sign horoscope. So in other news, I'm on Instagram and Facebook, so you can follow me at Caistrology. If you're wanting to book a private one-on-one reading, you can do so via caistrology.com. All the links are below. So without further ado, let's just get straight into your December horoscope. Hi Taurus Sun, Moon and Risings, welcome to your December 2025 horoscope. As the month begins, Venus, which is your chart ruler, will enter the sign of Sagittarius. So it will be transiting your 8th house in Sagittarius for just over 3 weeks. Now, because Venus is your chart ruler, it means that whichever house it transits, whichever sign it transits, whichever aspects it makes, this is basically indicative of you and what is happening to you personally. So it's like your personal significator planet, if that makes sense. So with Venus going through your 8th house, this indicates that you will find yourself being interested in topics that come under the umbrella of esotericism, occultism, astrology, psychology, exploring your sexuality, and also mutual resources. You don't have to be putting your focus in all of these topics, but it wouldn't surprise me if in some way, shape or form, they do come up for you over the next 3 or so weeks. The 8th house is also considered to be associated with great personal transformation as well as our fears and insecurities. So Venus going through the 8th house can see you really having to face some insecurities, having to face some fears, and I really think that you won't be the same as you come out the other side of this transit. And I say that for a few different reasons. You know, we don't just have Venus transiting the sign of Sagittarius, we're also going to have Mercury re-entering Sagittarius, and we have just had a Mercury retrograde in that sign. We've got a new moon in Sagittarius, and of course we've got Mars making 2 important squares to both Saturn and Pisces. So long story short, for the whole month of December, your 8th house is lit right up. Okay, so there is this focus on being vulnerable, like exploring your own vulnerability. If you are in a relationship with another person, then this can see you becoming more intimate or exploring sides of your relationship that you maybe haven't explored before. In any case, let's just move along and have a look at the full moon in Gemini. And we're certainly not done talking about the 8th house for this horoscope, so just bear with me. So on the 4th or the 5th of December, depending where you live in the world, there will be a full moon in Gemini at 13 degrees in your 2nd house. Now, anytime we have a full moon or a new moon or some kind of aspect occurring at 13 degrees, there is some element of Aries energy because it's the Aries degree. So this can involve something that relates to a bit of a shock to the system. It can be like setting a goal, achieving a goal, or experiencing some kind of challenge or conflict. And I know this all too well because I have Venus exactly opposite Uranus at 13 degrees in my 1st and 7th house. I digress. So full moons are all about illumination. So we can basically experience profound intuitive downloads when they occur. They can be culmination points, they can be even a time for celebration, or basically just uncovering home truths that were perhaps a bit foggy before. Now, not every single full moon and new moon is going to impact us equally. What we really want to look for is, do said full moons and new moons occur in our first house, seventh house, fourth house, or 10th house? No, that's okay. Do they involve our chart ruler? Yes. This full moon is opposite Venus in Sagittarius at 5 degrees, and we've also got Mars in Sagittarius at 22 degrees. So the full moon in your second house could see you making a big investment, spending a lot of money, maybe launching some kind of bold new way of making money, and it's like something that you haven't done before, or perhaps there's a little bit of risk involved. Okay, so it could be like a new stream of income for you, even if it is a one-off event. This could see you procuring an important new possession, valuable, or investment. Maybe you're selling something off. Because it's in your second house, this could see you majorly decluttering. Okay, so getting rid of a whole bunch of stuff. Maybe this is just clearing out the wardrobe or clearing out the kitchen, which the second house rules over all of these things. And because it is opposing Venus in your 8th house, there does seem to be some kind of personal transformation that takes place with this particular full moon. Okay, so again, maybe this involves facing certain fears or being vulnerable, maybe even in a group setting, because we do have the full moon occurring in Gemini, which rules over small groups of people. Okay, so on a few different notes there, this could be cutting something out of your diet, having important realizations about your spending habits or money management in general. Perhaps you are going to have an important dental surgery or appointment, or perhaps even if you don't have a surgery planned, maybe you go to the dentist for a routine checkup and they're like, hey, we actually need to, give you a filling or something like that. Okay, these are just a few random different ways that all of this could play out. Now, next we have Mars in Sagittarius in your 8th house, squaring Saturn in Pisces in your 11th house at 25 degrees. And then just a few days later, Mars is going to square Neptune in Pisces in your 11th house, but that'll be at 29 degrees. So the 11th house rules over your long-term vision for your future. It rules over passive and residual forms of income, your community, your wider network, friends of friends, and it also rules over like your community involvement, like your big group involvement, if I can put it that way, as well as your socioeconomic goals too. So the 8th house, we've already talked about what the 8th house rules over. Basically, Mars in your 8th house squaring Saturn in your 11th house could indicate that you are perhaps experiencing some kind of moment of vulnerability where you just don't feel comfortable, or you want to put boundaries in place with your wider network or your wider community, because you could feel like you've revealed too much about your personal life, or there could be some kind of boundary that you need to set in place, especially when it comes to your online personal activity. This could feel like having to suppress anger or rage or frustration, potentially with someone who is a friend of a friend or someone in your wider network, or potentially with like an older sibling. In any case, Mars in Sagittarius squaring Saturn in Pisces in your 11th house is tying together two of your money houses, two of your financial houses. So perhaps you are having to get really serious about pulling tight on the purse strings with your mutual resources or with your financial situation to set you up for success in the long term. And maybe you feel like you're having to pivot when it comes to your vision for your future and the action that you want to take because of something to do with the society that you're in or the community that you're in, or it's like, I need to be really mindful of my spendings now so that I can afford to do such and such in the future. There seems to be this energy of caution, frustration, suppression, and repression with respect to setting big long-term goals and dreams, and you know how much energy you're going to have to work on certain projects. Now on the 12th of December, Mercury will re-enter Sagittarius, so it'll be transiting your 8th house until early January next year. So we are in the post-shadow period of the Mercury retrograde, and that will last until the 17th of December. So whatever came up for you in November, you may somehow still be unraveling it or grappling with it as you get into mid-December. On the 14th of December, we're going to see Mars in Sagittarius in your 8th house, squaring Neptune in Pisces in your 11th house at 29 degrees. So this could see you being really proactive when it comes to working with psychologists, therapists, some kind of occult practitioner, so like astrologer, tarot reader, psychic, or whatever, to try and get answers about what the future holds. So basically Neptune rules over spirituality as well, but the 8th house has its part to play with occultism and esotericism, and Mars is that desire to pair action with spirituality to try and get answers. So I would just say be careful with what you're throwing out to the universe during this period of time. Be careful what you wish for, because Neptune rules over prayers, and Mars is like, I'm actively praying or actively placing my faith in something. So you want to be really careful what you place your faith in, because this particular aspect is kind of notorious for being confusing. It's like, where do I place my energy? How should I be feeling? Can I trust my emotions? And I'll probably mention this for all of the signs, but Mars is anger, Saturn is repression, but Neptune is like, I know no bounds, right? So when we have Mars making these squares within just a few days of each other to these planets, there can be times or a moment where you just experience blind rage. Now, I'm a Taurus. I have family members who are Taurian, and I know what it's like. Taurus, so chill, so patient. Oh my God, so laid back. They don't get angry. Everything's like, meh, whatever, that's fine, that's cool. Every few years, Taurus just like pop their top. There is potential for that here, okay? Just like no holds barred anger at a situation that has been building, possibly for years, because we've had Saturn and Neptune in Pisces for years. So with that being said, maybe you want to avoid being in situations where you can be triggered to that level, okay? I'm just throwing it out there, like only take it if it resonates, right? So a healthy way to channel the energy of this particular aspect would be yoga, meditation, maybe like a moving meditation, writing down your intentions. This is a great time to, I guess, manifest dissolving anger, dissolving difficult situations is what I mean to say, or even relationships as well, because, let's not forget Neptune is actually making like a near perfect sextile to Uranus in Taurus, right? So Uranus transiting your sign. So there's definitely this potential, this scope to just like let that anger go, dissolve the situation, dissolve this difficult chapter. So moving along, on the 15th of December, Mars is going to enter the sign of Capricorn, which means it will be transiting your 9th house. First of all, Mars is exalted in the sign of Capricorn. Second of all, Mars is now going to be trining you, which is just a lot more helpful when it comes to productivity, goal setting, achieving whatever it is that you want to achieve, like just basically setting your sights on your objectives and maybe just going through some kind of process where you are writing out what it is that you want to achieve, what it is that you are working towards. Okay, with Mars going through the 9th house, I mean, let's just remember that Mars can still pose some kind of conflict or challenge in whichever house it is transiting. So maybe this is to do with your travel plans, maybe some kind of legal situation, or perhaps this is experiencing some kind of conflict with other people over faith, over your political views, your religious views, your spiritual views. Okay, so these are other ways that can play out. If you are traveling, then I would recommend, doing some kind of sport while you're away, maybe hiking, or doing something physical. I've noticed that when I've traveled and Mars has been transiting my 9th house, these have always been like super intense travel trips. So that's a way that you can like positively harness that energy. On the 20th of December, there will be a new moon in Sagittarius at 28 degrees. So as I've said before, not every new moon and full moon is going to impact you, right? It really depends on what sign it's in, what house, what aspects it's making, and in your personal birth chart as well. Interestingly, this new moon is going to be conjunct Venus, which is of course your chart ruler, and it's in the 8th house. So new moons indicate a chance to plant a new seed, to set intentions, to begin a new chapter. And because this is occurring in your 8th house, this could relate to maybe investing in something with another person. So that could be in a property, that could be a joint investment, a new asset. This could be going into business with another person. The 8th house also rules over taxes and wills. So maybe drawing up a will, perhaps making changes to who is responsible for your accounting or bookkeeping. So you could be bringing someone on board to assist you with that, or maybe there's some kind of new service that you are going to invest in that's going to help you with your money management or your wealth management in some way, shape, or form. The 8th house is very much associated with psychology and therapy, and this could see you basically beginning to see a therapist or beginning to see a psychologist, or maybe you are wanting to study some kind of modality that comes under the umbrella of 8th house topics. So you could be interested in studying or pursuing Reiki, psychology, counseling, being trauma informed, an astrology course, a tarot course, etc., etc. So of course there are many, many different ways that this can play out, and one of them could be a new level of intimacy with you and your significant other. If you are single, then maybe this is like the new sexual development of a connection in your life in some way, shape, or form. And let's just see. So on the 21st or the 22nd of December, Capricorn season will begin. And then on the 24th or the 25th of December, depending where you live in the world, Venus will enter the sign of Capricorn. So basically in the last 7 days of the month, you will have Mars, the Sun, and Venus all transiting the 9th house. So basically when it comes to December, the area of focus is split, although not evenly split, between your 8th house and your 9th house. Okay, so the dominant focus is on the 8th house, which is a lot more intense, transformative, and occult in nature. And then With the 9th house, it's all about your belief systems, travel, exploring other cultures, maybe wanting to learn a new language, and this could be educating yourself, enrolling in a university program or a college program, stepping into the role of teacher. And also the 9th house is associated with import, export, publishing, and so these could be areas that you are starting to focus on as we get further and further into December. In any case, Taurus, I hope you enjoyed this horoscope. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up and feel free to share it around. And I'm also on Instagram and Facebook as well, and that would be Caistrology. So same handle if you're interested in seeing more astro and even tarot content in between these horoscopes. Enjoy the rest of the year, Taurus, and I'll see you guys in 2026.